We welcome you to Lesson African Motives. Today, I want us to look at the challenges of the market environment as well as the challenges of the macro environment. So, we are still under Business Studies Grade 11, Term 1 notes. We are still under Business Studies Grade 11, Term 1 notes. So, as I've said, that you're going to look at the challenges of market environment as well as macro environment, because previously we did the challenges of the micro environment. This is what we did last time. So now let us continue with these challenges of these two environments. So that is that. So, like it says, the challenges of market environment. It says several factors in the market environment could threaten the survival and success of the business. So, several factors in the market environment could threaten the survival and success of the business. We can talk of competition, we can talk of suppliers, we can talk of changes in consumer behavior. All those can threaten the survival and the success of the business. So in topic 1, we learned that the business has limited or little control over its market environment. That's what you've learned in topic 1, that business or an enterprise is what a partial or limited or little control over the market environment. But they can influence what? They can have influence in the market environment. Because when you talk of the market environment, we're talking about that environment that is directly outside the organization. So it says, however, it is possible to influence the challenges that are presented by market environment. Like I've said, that all they have is the influence, but they cannot fully control the market environment, but they can influence it and to respond to them in a way that ensures success of the business. So that is that. So it further on say some challenges in the market environment are more easily influenced than others. For example, it is easier for a business to influence its suppliers and customers than it is for it to influence its competitors. That is true. As it says that in the market environment, there are challenges in the market environment that are more easily influenced than others. It is easy for an organization to influence customers as well as the suppliers, because with customers, they can try by all means to persuade them to buy the products and services, trying by all means to show, demonstrate the benefits that the customers are going to get by using its products or services. Also, they can negotiate with suppliers for prices. But with competitors, it is very difficult to influence them. So it says, let us discuss the challenges in the market environment. So the first challenge in the market environment is what? Competition. Competition is the first challenge that we're going to talk about. So when we talk of competition, we know very well talking about the rival. Business try to attract the same customers. We're talking about rival businesses try to attract the same customers. Same customers. So, for example, we can talk about Coca-Cola and Pepsi competing for soft drink market share. That you always say there. Those are the rival business try to attract the same customers. So that is that. As it is, competition refers to the business that produce or sell the same kind of goods or render similar services. That's why I came up with the example of a Coke, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi. They are all competing for soft drink market share. So if a business cannot match the quality and the prices of the goods or services of its competitors, it may lose its customers. That is true. If the business is not going to match the quality of the goods that of the goods or services of its competitors, so it means you're going to lose those customers. Those customers are going to switch to your rivals. So if ever you're not going to be able to match the quality as well as the prices of the goods. So that is that. So let us move on. So like as you can see here, it says why choose us. It says why choose us. So that is where you try to differentiate yourself. This shows that why choose us. It means you have to be, as an organization, you have to try by all means to differentiate yourself to your rivals for you to win a competitive advantage. So that is that. So as an organization, you need to know why do you want customers to choose you. So that is very important. It further on says increased competition forces business to decrease their prices. So if the competition is very intense, so this forces what? The business to decrease their prices. So their profit margin decreases. And this leads to some business closing down because they are not able to cover the cost of production. That is another challenge. So the competition is too very strong. This forces business to lower their prices, and once it lowers its prices, it means that it's going to affect the profits negatively, and this will lead to the closure of the business. So that's that. So now let us move on to another challenge in the market environment. Let us go to another challenge of which this challenge is shortage of supply. Shortage of supply. Shortage of suppliers. So with shortage of suppliers, that is when suppliers cannot provide enough materials. So when you talk of shortage of suppliers, it is when suppliers not provide enough raw materials. Raw material. Or goods. For example, the clothing store can't restock due to fabric shortages. So that is that. So it says every business needs raw materials to produce its goods or services. So we need what? The raw materials for us to produce or create goods. So without availability of raw materials, business cannot produce its products or services to meet the demands of its target market. So it simply says if we short of suppliers, it means you're going to short of what? Of raw materials. So it means our production is going to be very affected. It's going to be affected. We are going to produce less. We're going to produce less. We're going to short of what? Of the products because of not available inputs inputs or raw materials. Business depends on suppliers for their raw materials or inputs. So if the supply of materials or input is disrupted, the business productivity and profitability will also decrease. So the productivity is going to decrease because it means there are days whereby now there's going to be no production that is taking place. What happens to our sales? It means you're not going to sell. So if you're not selling, this is going to affect our profit. Hope you are together at the grade levels. Also, it further on say, if supplier is incapable of delivering raw materials on time, in the right quantities, at the right quality and price, it will cause business to lose customers, not meet its sales target, and suffer decrease in profits. So that is that. If our suppliers are not reliable, in short, this is going to affect our business because they are not keeping time. They don't deliver raw materials on time, right quantities. Sometimes you've ordered a certain quantity, like to say 20 liters of oil, and then they just bring in only 2 liters. So it means now that is going to affect our sales because customers are going to come and then find the products not there. So this is going to affect our sales targets as well as the profits. So that is that. Let us move on, good people. Now we come to another challenge, which is changes in consumer behavior. Changes in consumer behavior. So when you talk of changes in consumer behavior, we're talking about customers tastes and buying habits change over time. What is that? For example, more customers prefer online shopping instead of visiting stores. So that is what we're talking about when we're talking about changes in consumer behavior. That is another challenge. As it says, economic conditions or fashion can cause changes in consumer taste and preference. This could lead to lower sales. So as you know that there are fashions, so fashions change over time. So if the organization is not keeping itself up to date with what is happening in the market, so it's going to find itself with fewer sales because of what changes in consumer behavior, like we've said, that is changes in taste as well as preferences. Business therefore need to work harder in their marketing efforts or adapt their product or service to meet the requirements of the target market. So meaning to say, the business must make sure that they do what a market research. They have to go and try to do a research so that they can find out what is happening, what are the changes in the market. So that is very important so that they are going to respond to the needs of the market so that they cannot find themselves with excess stock that is not going to be bought because of it being what? Old, fashioned. That is that. Changes in consumer needs may lead to stockpiling and reduced profit margins. That's what I've said. That you will find the business will find itself with excess stock of people are no longer buying that because of it being what? Outdated. So marketing is very important. Going out to meet with your target market and try to find out what are the changes that are taking place in the market. That is very important. Businesses are forced continuously to study these changes so that they can provide goods or services that customers always need. So the easiest way that you can study the changes, that is why you always try to research and find out what are the changes that are taking place in the market. That is only when you can respond to the needs of your customers. That is that. Now let us move on to another challenge, which is demographics. Now we are on demographics. So with demographics, we are talking about changes in population. We are talking about changes in population. Changes in population. We are talking about age. We're talking about income. We're talking about lifestyle. And also attitudes. So that the changes in population affect demand. They affect the demand. So as it says, demographics refers to statistics of population such as gender, age, race, level of education, level of income, like I've said. So this is when we're talking about demographics. The practical example we can give is that an Asian population increases demand for healthcare products. You see, like we've said, we're talking about age. So an Asian population increases demand for healthcare products because now they are getting sick. Now they are now old now. So they increases what? Demand for healthcare products. So that is what we have said, changes in population. Also, you see the challenge faced by business is that there are constant changes in the demographic characteristics their market. So that is the challenge faced by business because there are constant changes in the demographic characteristics of their target market. Because of their income can increase or decrease, the lifestyle will change, and this affects what the demand, either positively or negatively. For example, people are living longer, and this could lead to an increase in demand of goods and services. So that is that people are living longer. When lots of people immigrate, it could lead to decrease in the number of consumers and as well as skilled labor. So that is that. For this one, that demographics, you can just go through it. So now let us be to psychographics. Let us be to psychographics. As it says, psychographics refers to customer lifestyle and behavior. It includes their attitudes, interests, opinions, desire, and lifestyle. So that is that. So psychographics, it's all about attitudes, interests, opinions, desire, and lifestyle. So it's more like the same as what demographics. So that is that. So now let us just move on to also we're still under psychographics, where it says businesses must be aware of their customer lifestyle and behavior. This will enable them to run more effective marketing campaigns. However, it could be difficult to determine psychographics of target market because Customers' lifestyle and behaviors change frequently. So we are advised that as an organization should be very much aware of the customer's lifestyle as well as behavior. Though it changes frequently, but as an organization must try to find out to always be kept up to date of those changes that take place. Now we come to the socio-cultural factors. Socio-cultural factors. So when we talk about socio-cultural factors, we are talking about cultural beliefs. Cultural beliefs, traditions, traditions, and values that influence that influence by that we're talking about the socio-cultural factors. Example, business may adjust menus during religious holidays like Ramadan. You see, that is that. So let us go through this points under cultural, socio-cultural factors. As you can see, it says socio-cultural factors include language, customs, income levels, and preferences associated with a particular cultures. That is true. When we talk of socio-culture, we're talking about language, customs, of which we know they are different. They are different. So it affects the product line and the marketing campaign of a business. So this affects what? The product line and marketing campaign. The business need to ensure that the marketing campaigns are not offensive to any cultural. So we have to make sure that you're not going to offend any cultural group of how you are going to market your product. Socio-cultural factors have an impact on the market environment. They shape the way people live, work, produce, and consume. The challenge of business is that of clear understanding factors that drive a social culture to respond appropriately. So that is that. Now we come to ways in which business can overcome competition in the market. Ways in which business can overcome competition in the market. It says business must ensure that they produce differentiated goods or services for the target market. So for you to win the competitive advantage, that is when you can differentiate your business from your competitors by trying to be unique, by trying to make sure that your products are going to be different from your competitors, trying to provide the goods which are of high quality, which are very quality. Business need to provide most personalized services by being responsive to customers' needs and wants. So try by all means to attend to the needs, attend to the problem of your target market. That is that. Goods and services must be priced lower than competitors or goods services in the market. That is how you can also overcome competition by trying by all means to lower your price. So this will help you to have more sales because many customers will come who are buying based on price. Business must produce high quality goods, things that consumers might be interested in. So we have said you can be able to overcome competition by trying by all means to be different with the services, with the products that you're providing. Also by being personalized, by personalizing your services, also by lowering prices, and now also by producing high quality goods and services. Also create a positive image, publicity through regular engagement in a community development process. We are trying to say give back to the community. So if you can come up with the projects that are going to help the community, that shows that you are creating a positive image, and that will give the business a good relationship with what with the community, and they will always want to make business with your enterprise. They will always do repeat purchases. They will come again to buy from your enterprise or your organization. That is that. Business must improve customer services and keep customers happy. So make sure that you are going to treat your customers as kings and queens. First, start by making sure that you are going to satisfy your customers, and that's how they're going to be happy. Business must create a positive outlook by regularly renovating their premises and improving their systems. That is to create a positive outlook. Try always to always renovate your premises so that they can look very attractive, and that will make your customers or your target market to always come to your business. That's how you can keep them. Business must undertake good marketing campaigns that will draw the attention of the target market. So make sure that your marketing, don't just market, but make sure the marketing campaigns that you're going to come up are the ones that are going to be very attractive to your target market. Interesting marketing campaigns. Business must offer low cost extra such as improved credit terms, loyalty schemes, and so on. Business must ensure that they have well-trained and dedicated employees that create a better atmosphere. So make sure that your employees are competent enough to deliver at workplace. That is that. Let us move on with people. So now we are under challenges of the macro environment. Challenges of macro environment. As it says, although business cannot influence or control the macro environment, they must have the understanding of its challenges. These challenges can have an adverse effect on the operations of business. We know very well that the business have no control at all on a macro environment, but business are advised to have the understanding of these challenges. As it says, let's learn about some factors in the macro environment and how they present challenges to a business. So the first one that we're going to talk about is change in income levels. Change in income levels. That is when you're talking about change in income levels, that's when you're saying when people earn more their buying power changes. Their buying power changes. So that is that. So, for example, during economic downturns, people buy fewer luxury goods. So that's what we're saying. When people earn more or less, this changes what their buying power. So during economic downturns, it means that now we're going to buy less. So the number of goods or services that consumer can purchase is determined by their net income. That is true. Our purchasing power is determined by our net income. The net income is gross income minus all taxes. That is that. So when consumers' net income decreases, they are only to buy goods and services that are necessary, the basics. And so the profitability and productivity of the business will decrease. So that is that. As you are told that the net income, that is whereby we are saying gross income. So the gross income means is still giving what? The expenses, of which we say these are deductions. Once we manage them, and then we are left with net income. So if that net income is very low, this shows that their buying power as well is going to decrease. And once it decreases, it affects the profitability of the business. Unemployment, high interest rates, high inflation rates, or an increase in taxes leave consumers with less money to spend for goods and services. So if people find themselves without jobs, it means now they're not going to have income. So it means they're not going to buy. So that is going to affect what? The business. Even when the interest rates are high, so that affects as well as the inflation. Reduced spending on lower profits for business. So that is that. Now let us move on to another challenge in the macro environment. So another challenge in the macro environment is political changes. Here we are talking about a government changes or instability can affect policies and laws. We are talking about government changes. Ability. Yeah. Wait. Let me see. The new government raises taxes on imported goods. So you see, that's what we say. That there's are political changes or instabilities. So you see, government decides its own objectives and ideologies. So we're talking about the ideas and as well as the ideas. When you're talking about ideologies, so the government says on its objectives and as well as its ideas. With a change in government, business have to adapt to new laws and policies. So those new laws and policies may affect the business negatively or positively. A change in government can result in political instability. It can scare away possible investors and tourists, in turn threaten the survival of the business. So once we have political instability, political unrest, where the country is not stable, there are fights. So this is going to discourage investors to invest into such country, and this is going to affect the business. In some countries, there is a high level of political instability and civil war that makes it difficult for business to operate there efficiently and profitably. So that is that. Let us move on. Now we come to contemporary legal legislation. Contemporary legal legislation. Here we are talking about what? New laws. Talking about new laws or upgrade or upgrades that the business must follow. For instance, must follow. So that is that. For example, laws about consumer protection or environmental safety. So that is when you're talking about contemporary legal legislation, the new laws that business must follow. The government has passed laws to check the activities and operations of the of the business. Business that fail to obey these laws could be fined or owners could be sent to prison. Like they've said, those new laws business must follow. We have acts that the that are put into place, and the business must obey, make sure that they comply with those acts. You can talk about SDA, Skill Development Act, LRA, Labor Relation Act. You can talk about BCEA, Basic Condition Employment Act. So business must follow those. Failure to do that, they will find their business closed. They will be fined. They will as well be sent to prison. Business must comply with legislation in place, which is not always easy to do. For example, the EU Employment Equity Act number 55 of 1990 compels business to give preference to previously disadvantaged individuals when appointing new employees into the business. So sometimes it is difficult to do because the candidates may not have the right qualifications or experience. So we know very well that we are talking about what the equality. So when you talk about this act, it's all about what equality. Those previously disadvantaged people, they are now, this act want them to be included, to as well be able to get what chances, promotions others are getting as well. So the challenge is that you find that the business is forced to do so. Then you may find that those people, they don't have right skills, right qualification to do that. That is a challenge that comes up with this act. Other new laws that present a challenge to business are the National Credit Act, NCA, as well as Consumer Protection Act, Labor Relation Act. Those are the other acts that the business need to follow, need to comply with. So now let us move on. So now we are on labor restrictions. So when you talk of labor restrictions, you're talking about a law that limit hiring. Law that limit hiring. Law that limit hiring, firing, or working hours. Or working hours. So, for example, a law requiring a minimum wage increases business cost. So it means business is going to incur cost. So as it said, the government has passed several laws that impose restriction on business operations. Like when you're talking about what? A minimum wage, whereby now the law is forcing the business to say you are to pay employees from this amount. So that is that. This was create the legal framework that protects employees from being exploited by their employers and also restrict the practices of their employers. So some employers find this legal framework restrictive, while others see it as an important part of protecting the rights of employees and ensuring democracy in the workplace. So that is that. Now let us move on to macro lending. Micro lending. So with micro lending, we're talking about small loans. We're talking about small loans available to small loans available to individuals and small businesses. And small businesses and small businesses can increase competition. Increase competition. That is that. For example, entrepreneurs using microloans start competing with established businesses. That is why we say can increase what? Competition. So this refers to individual business that grant small loans to those who cannot get credit from commercial banks. That is a microloan that you're talking about. They normally charge high interest rates and their repayment period is shorter than those of commercial banks. So that is another challenge because their interest rate you can see is high and their repayment period is also short. So there is a little protection of those who make use of these loans because micro lenders are not regulated by the South African Bank Act. So do not subscribe to the code of banking practice of South Africa. So that is that. Now we come to globalization and international trade. Globalization and international trade. So with globalization and international trade, it means that you're talking about businesses businesses face face international competition. Competition and global trends. And global, that is that. For example, a local roofing brands compete with cheaper imports from China. That is why a business face international competition and global trends. This refers to exchange of products, savings capital, or labor across national borders. That is, business are competing with international business for local customers. That is globalization and international trade. Labor is cheap in some countries. So these countries can manufacture products at the reduced prices and sell their excess products in other countries at the lower prices. This is called dumping. So dumping makes it difficult for local business to be competitive in the global market. That's the problem that comes up with this dumping. So the migration of skilled labor can result in local skill shortage. So once they migrate, it means now the local is going to be left with shortage of skills. The benefit of globalization, the benefit of it is that it has led to faster and easier transfer of knowledge and skills between countries as they're going to share what knowledge and skills. So that is that. So now let us move on to another point. Demographics, social values, in fact, and demographics, social values, and demographics. So with social values, we are talking about social values, and demographics. That's when you're talking about society's beliefs. Speaking about society's beliefs, and population changes. Affect business operation. Affect business operations. So that's that. For example, growing environmental awareness increases demand for eco-friendly products. That's what we are trying to say. As it says, this include the beliefs Norms, values that are shared by a particular society or a group of people. Like I've said, we are talking about societies, beliefs, and population changes, of which they are business operations. So it influences consumers' buying habits because consumers buy products they identify. Social values can impact consumer buying limits, includes attitudes towards safety, brand loyalty. Business cannot control consumers' social values. While when you're talking about demographics, it refers to the characteristics of populations such as age, race, gender, and so on, like we talked about it earlier on. Changes in characteristics of demographics of population affect business products and that business need to produce. Enterprises need to remain informed of changes in demographics. So that is that. Now let us move on to socio-economics. Let us move on to socio-economics. So socio-economics, we are talking about socio-economic issues. We're talking about problems like unemployment. You know, problems like talking about poverty. We're talking about inequality. Inequality. That affect business sales, that affect business sales inequality, affect business sales. So, for example, a high unemployment means fewer people can afford to buy products. So that's a problem when you talk about what the socio-economic issues, those problems like unemployment, poverty, inequality, they affect what the sales of business. Because people, if they find themselves without job, like as we are talking about unemployment, it's simple said they're not going to afford to buy products and service of the business. There's social issues like crime, poverty, high HIV and AIDS, and corruption influence business operations in different ways. Many businesses suffer losses because of crime or corruption. So once there is a crime, it means where the business is operating, that is going to affect the business because the business is not going to run smoothly and the profits are going to be affected. Business growth is going to be affected as well because it's not going to grow. Business have to spend a lot of money on insurance to secure themselves against crime, which in turn leads to higher cost of production and decreases in profits. Like we're saying, if we have a problem of like crime, it means business have to make sure that they are going to need protection. So they have to go spend money on insurance, on securities. So it means this is going to affect their profitability because they are to part ways with other money to secure the business, to go and try by all means to protect the business. So that is that. The HIV and AIDS pandemic has contributed to the illness and death of many productive members of society. So this further leads to decrease in the size of labor force and decrease in the size of consumer market. So with this pandemic, so it has contributed to the illness, and there are other people who dies because of this with HIV and AIDS. Of which you find that those are very competent employees, productive members. So that is another problem. So now let us move on to examples of contemporary legislation that may affect business. We're talking about legislations, like we're talking about the acts that you know for sure that the business are forced to comply with those acts. We know when you're talking about legislation, you're talking about the law. You're talking about what? Law. So you see, the Labor Relations Act Number 66 of employee. This relation regulates relationship between employer and employees when resolving a conflict in the workplace. We know that the employers will be represented by trade unions because they are allowed to join any unions of their choice, while if the employers they will be represented by the management, the employer management in the business, to try by all means to resolve what the conflict, to bring in a good relationship between two parties. So we also have BCEEA, which is Basic Condition Employment Act. So this legislation provides a minimum acceptable standard of any employment policy. It describes conditions of the employment, like the leaves, the payment, like those. So we also have the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act, COIDA. This provides compensation for employees who sustain injuries or contract diseases while if they are on duty. So they need to be protected, they need to be compensated if they find themselves injured at workplace. So it also ensures that employers provide their employees with safety and healthy working environment. Also, we have SDA, Skills Development Act. This legislation ensures that employers contribute towards the education and training of their employees. So you improve your employees, you let them to be equipped with knowledge and skills while they are at the workplace. Also, we have CPA, Consumer Protection Act, of which you know this act promotes and advances the social and economic welfare of consumers in South Africa. We also have NCA, National Credit Act. This act was established to protect both business and consumers from negligent lending practices that could result in over debtness. That is that. So, yeah. So this is the end of the presentation. This is the end of the presentation of today. And grade 11s, make sure that you are going to share with others and make sure that you are going to not by any forget to hit the subscription button. I thank you.